Election Day Nightmare. November 5th, 2038 is my first year voting as I've just celebrated my 18th birthday just a few short days ago. I'm obsessed with politics as I plan on becoming a well-respected political figure in the near future. I wanted to work my way up the ladder from mayor to governor to senator and ultimately the president of these United States. I woke up at 5:45 a.m. filled with excitement as I ironed my suit that I'll wear to the voting booth. Time traveled by like the wind, as in the blink of an eye. Time was eyeing 9 a.m. I'm ready to cast my ballot. I'm ready to take action and cast my ballot in the most crucial political race in the history of this country. On one hand, we have the great divider, the man who's ran on pure division by not just race, but also by income. On the other hand, there's someone who believes in unity. That same someone has dignity, pride, and a record in the Senate as unifying people of all races and political backgrounds. I've voiced my opinion on the great divider. I made it clear on my blog how he will be a one-time president and how I urge my followers and supporters to choose unity over division. A divided nation won't make as much progress as a unified one. Over the past 4 years, I went from being invisible to being one of the most talked about bloggers in the country. I've had offers from various radio stations about beginning my own podcast, and I'm still mulling over those offers. I'm fully excited about those offers. I got myself ready and headed outside of my home where the fresh air smelled good to me. It's a beautiful day, a day that will be historic. It's the beginning of the end for the great divider. I locked my front door and headed to my vehicle planted before my garage. I opened up my car door and entered into my vehicle. I'm feeling good as I rev up the engine for my car. Today is the end of the great divider's reign over this entire country. I slammed on my car's gas, reversing out of the driveway until an all-black SUV rushed behind my vehicle, forcing me to slam on my car brake. I immediately punched my car horn, honking at the idiot who parked his vehicle right behind mine. I then noticed the same kind of vehicle stop before me, and then another one to my left, and then another one to my right. My heart jumped out of my chest. Was this a hit? I'm not the mafia, and I damn sure ain't a made man, so whatever this is, must be some sort of case of wrong identity. The car doors of the vehicles opened up as men dressed in all black exited out of their vehicles with guns drawn. Nervousness shot through my entire body at the current moment. It's all over for me, is the first thought that ran through my mind. The men didn't begin firing their guns at me like Denzel Washington at the end of Training Day. Instead, they all rushed to my vehicle and yanked open every single car door. "Are you Ryan Mitchell?" One man hurled at me to the top of his lungs. I somehow gained the strength to nod my head. Then suddenly, one of the men yanked me by my collar and pulled me from out of my vehicle. "Ryan Mitchell, the president of these United States, needs to speak with you urgently before the election polls close all around the country." "What?" was the only word that could leak from out of my mouth. I was then forced into one of the vehicles as one of the Secret Service looking men placed a blindfold around my eyes. I couldn't see anything as I could feel the SUV take off in a hurry. Surely one of my neighbors must have saw what has just taken place, I thought to myself. That brought a little comfort to me because I know the elderly woman across the street from me is nosy. She is the neighborhood watch, all by her lonesome. She knows everything that takes place in the neighborhood. For the past 90 years, or however long her old ass has lived in that rundown need-to-be-demolished house of hers. I know she must have saw exactly what just happened to me, and therefore the cops should be aware by now, and sooner than later, this hostage situation will be all over for me. I'll be free and right back to my normal life. Ryan Mitchell, you've not been a fan of the president for years, says a man seated right next to me. It's one thing that you're not a fan of his, but it's another that you speak so negatively about him. That blog of yours upsets the president more than you could ever imagine. Your words are causing a rift in this country that's leading to violent protests and violence among citizens across this country who believe in our president and those who don't. So today, a great day for this nation. The president expects you to blog and vlog why everyone should vote for him. The president demands you to do so, or you will not make it to the voting booth today. He's stressed. Now, do you agree to do what is expected of you by the president, or else? I could feel the barrel of a gun pressed against my temple and another against my chest. Make a decision quickly, he urged. Panic took over me, forcing me to agree to their demands. Quick, fast, and in a hurry, the blindfold was removed from over my eyes as I spotted a laptop situated before me, logged into my blog's website. One man to my left backed away from me, aiming a gun at me, as the man to my right did the exact same thing. Go live now and endorse the president, or else die in front of the eyes of all of your followers, the man to my right spoke. I agreed nervously as I thought about the fact that these men hacked into my website. The government is power, and they're invincible, so I can't defeat them. I didn't waste any more time. I just went live and did exactly what they demanded I do. I went on and on, admitting my mistakes about doubting the president, who I labeled the great divider in the past. Nearly a few minutes traveled by as I praised the president in ways I would never under any normal circumstance. I closed out my support for the president by stating, be smart and vote for the right guy for the job. I paused, thinking about what to say next as I noticed both men impatiently grinning at me. I sighed heavily before I spoke again. To all my loyal followers that know me, know that I'm being held captive by the members of the President's Secret Service, and I would never in my life endorse that racist, bigoted, misogynistic, great divider. No other words could leak from out of my mouth before one of the Secret Service members shot the laptop, turning it off right away. I expected him to point and aim his gun at me as I expected it to be all over for me. I closed my eyes, then I began counting down from 5. I didn't hear the sound of a gun going off. I didn't have a chance to even say my final prayer, as I knew for certain that it was all over for me. Excellent work, young man, the Secret Service agent sitting behind my car seat spoke, prompting me to take a look back where I spotted the man who I planned on voting for in this upcoming election. He caused my jaw to drop. This can't be reality. Thank you for helping me win this election, young man, the soon-to-be president-elect spoke. He made a phone call, suddenly prompting all the major news stations to let it be known that he's launched a search for me, Ryan Mitchell, and that he wouldn't allow the president to get away with yet another heinous crime. After a few minutes of him speaking with the heads of every major news station controlled by his wing, he then turned on the televisions on the back of both of the driver and front passenger's headrests. Every news station reported the story that the president's contender has launched a search to find me. This is all crazy. This is fake news. My head is spinning. My confusion level has risen at an all-time high. It's the American way, young man, the presidential hopeful spoke. This must be done to show me as a hero and win me the presidency. This must never be spoken about with anyone ever. Do you hear me? We're going to head to my office in an hour or so where we'll hold a news conference informing the naive American public that we found you. The sheep that most of them are will believe in what they see and hear, and their votes will belong to me. At the press conference, you'll keep your mouth shut and act relieved to be saved by me. You'll tell the world the president's Secret Service agents promised to execute you once you did that video on your website. That end his presidency for certain and send him to prison and me to the White House. Nod your head if you agree to do what is expected of you to do, or I'll end you myself. I exhaled heavily before I nodded my head in agreement to his demands. What could I do? Hell, what is there for me to do? It's either I lie and live that lie for the rest of my days, or my life ends now. Mr. President-to-be, I'll do whatever you need me to do. I spoke frighteningly. I know you will, he replied before laughing sinfully, as he knows he's just took the presidency right from the president. The nightmare that's my reality. I woke up from a dream that was in fact my reality. I was covered in blood, but the blood didn't belong to me. Instead, it belonged to my ex. That's around a little over a day ago when I felt drowsy, so I dozed off, only to wake up about an hour later. It was around 9 a.m., and the birds were chirping and singing while I wasn't in the mood. I'd had a hangover from the night before of drinking and partying to celebrate my 24th birthday. That was a hell of a night until I spotted my ex dancing center stage, getting tips from men who made money rain down on her. I wasn't jealous immediately. I was pissed off as I observed her watching me every so often. First, I had no idea that she was a stripper. Next, if I had known, I damn sure wouldn't have held my birthday party at this strip club. I tried to avoid her, but how could I when her sexy skin reminded me of the good old days when we used to make sweet, sweet love. I didn't pay much attention to her as stripper after stripper gave me lap dance, one after the other as she observed me. It was near 5 a.m. and I at least guzzled 2 bottles of Hennessy, so my mind was someplace else while my body was still at the club. Before I knew it, a sexy, thick chocolate chick was on my lap grinding away. She wanted me bad, and I wanted her until she turned around to face me. "Luchelle, get the hell off of me," I shouted as she giggled. She didn't obey my demand. She just continued grinding on me nonstop. Well, one thing led to the other, and she ended up naked in my bedroom. Fast forward to yesterday morning, as I stood up in my kitchen with a hangover and Lucia exited from my bedroom in her lingerie. I'm flabbergasted by her beauty. It's unmatched. However, she's evil. She is the definition of insane, psychotic, mental, postal, and just all out crazy. Why did I put myself back into this trap yet again? I wondered to myself. Taking a look at Lucille's beauty and her vicious curves was all I needed to see to answer that question. "Relax, baby," she said to me as she assisted me to the dining room table. She helped me take a seat. "I'll cook you breakfast, and I'll clean up around here." I looked confused. I know how she operates. She'll slither her way right back into my life like she did when we first met. Sure, she does the incredible, like cook, clean, and she's independent and beautiful, which is rare, but she is crazy. Oh damn, she is insane. I kept my focus on her as she paced back and forth in the kitchen to prepare breakfast for me to eat. "Lucia, what are you even doing here?" I asked, causing her to giggle. She looked over her shoulder as she pulled out the carton of eggs from the refrigerator. You invited me over, silly, she expressed. Don't blame it on the alcohol, 'cause boy, you ain't Jamie Foxx. Her speaking is just giving me flashbacks of us basically making love in the club like we used to. I can't remember me leaving the club hand in hand with her as my homies told me to stop. Before I knew it, I had a 5-star breakfast place before me as Luchelle continued smiling while playing her lips on my lips. That kiss caused me to smile from ear to ear as I immediately remembered all of the horrible moments we've shared over the years. All of the verbal fights, the headaches she's caused me, and the personal relationships with my family members and friends that she's destroyed for me while we were together. Horror story after horror story she's caused me, which caused me to end our relationship for good just over a year ago. Do you know that last night was the same night we met 5 years ago, she mentioned? Puzzled, can't even explain how confused I felt at that very moment. What? I said, completely confused. Yeah, that's right, sweetie. Last night, October 30th, was the same night we met just 5 years ago, she explained. You must have remembered our anniversary or something. Whatever the reason was, we crossed paths last night. It wasn't by chance. It was our destiny. Jaw-dropping wasn't even the word. I just was shell-shocked. This has to be a dream, and I need to wake up. I'm going to stop by the club and get some of my belongings. Then head home, she says, giving me a sigh of relief. Then I'll be back, and we could go another couple of rounds or so if you can keep up. She kissed me once more before she walked off smiling nonstop. See you soon, baby, she says as she grabbed the car keys from off of the kitchen counter before she headed out. I was frozen in utter disbelief. I couldn't even speak a word. I couldn't tell her to not come back like I wanted to. As much as I didn't care to eat, I annihilated my breakfast as I called all my friends back to back. None of them even answered the phone. It's still early in the morning, and how we partied last night, it may be hours before any of them even wakes up. But still, that didn't prevent me from calling them over and over again. Meanwhile, Lucia arrived at the Club Caliente. Her head held high, not lacking any confidence, as she passed by the bouncers to enter into the club, where she was instantly welcomed by Pimpin' Q. This gargantuan 6'5" man stopped her in her tracks. Lucia, what the hell happened to you last night? He asked. She rolled her eyes and kissed her teeth before she walked around him, causing him to grab her by her left wrist. He forced her to turn and face him. He scowled at her. He's pissed. Lucia, where's my damn money? He demanded. You haven't paid your tip out in weeks. Plus you owe me your escort fees. By my calculations, that's 12 grand plus interest. Lucia, he glared at her while she rolled her eyes. I hope you came to work early, because every dollar you owe me, you're going to start making up today. Lucia took a step away from him, causing him to grab her by the throat. He shoved her up against the wall, grabbing her back onto it. She struggled to breathe. Fear flew through her entire body as tears fell from her eyes. I'm done, Q. She struggled to speak. Her face began getting pale while he gripped even firmer around her neck. She looked into his eyes, staring into his soul. She knows that he can snap her neck in an instant if he wanted to. Everyone in the club watched, some in horror, while a few other strippers were filled with glee. Lucia is a moneymaker. She makes twice as much as all of them on a bad night for her. Some of them have a deep-rooted hatred for her, and that's being displayed currently. Okay, she pleaded as she could feel her soul getting ready to flee from her body. I'll dance. I'll pay you back. I'll do whatever you want. Pimpin' Q looked deeply into her soul for a bunch of moments before he loosened his grip from around her neck. Go and get ready. And make me some big money tonight, he stated. Luchelle agreed. Not a problem, she spoke, causing him to let go of her. She gasped for air, before she coughed a few times. He watched her, and he grew in aggravation. Go make me my money, he roared. Luchelle gingerly walked off. She headed to the dressing room as Pimpin' Q waited impatiently. Quite some time flew by, causing angst to inject into him. That made him head to the dressing room as he attempted to figure out just what was going on. Luchelle, hurry the hell up, he shouted as he entered into the dressing room and spotted the back door wide open. Luchelle was gone, nowhere to be found. Anger filled him in a hurry. Luchelle, you stupid idiot, he screamed. He rushed over to the back door to check the parking lot before he made his way to the front entrance. Luchelle's car was gone, and so was she. Before more anger could find its way to Pimpin' Q, he realized something vital. That's my car you're driving, Luchelle, he said aloud to himself. That has GPS, so ain't no hiding from me. At the same time, I was home, still with a headache, and now I'm speaking with my homie Ron. Yo, bro, are you stupid or what? He stated. Luchelle had you wrapped around her finger last night. Please tell me you didn't sleep with her. We both laughed at his words. You know I did, I responded. Before I could continue, I heard the sound of my front door opening, catching my full attention. Baby, I need you, yelled Luchelle, causing me to head over to the front door where she stood crying. Yo, Kareem, say it ain't so, says Ron, who heard Luchelle's voice through the phone. I hung up the phone, failing to respond to him. My focus glued to Luchelle, who I immediately consoled. Are you okay, baby? I asked concernedly. She just gushed out tears that flooded my right shoulder. Don't worry, baby. I'm going to make you feel good, I made clear before I lifted her into the air and carried her to my bedroom where we made sweet, sweet love over and over again until I completely exhausted myself. My head was still throbbing as I'm still feeling the effects of my hangover. I fell asleep like a baby, and so did Luchelle, until a little after midnight, as her phone rang uncontrollably, waking her up from out of her sleep. Text message after text message displayed on her phone, which urged her to be very careful. Then suddenly, picture after picture flooded her phone of her entering into my home with tears smothering her eyes. To her surprise, it caused her to panic. She jumped up out of bed and rushed out of the room to call Pimpin' Q to plead with him to leave her alone. The moment she exited the bedroom to rush over to the front door to ensure that it was locked, she felt a hand wrap around her waist and her mouth. Pimpin' Q broke into the home and snuck up behind Luchelle. He then threw her down to the floor, towering over her with a gun in hand aimed at her. One sound and you're dead, he made clear. Luchelle begged and pleaded for her life. I'll spare you if you have my money, he says. Luchelle responded, I don't have any money, I'm broke. He shook his head and said wrong answer. The next morning I woke up, head still spinning from the night before last night, crust in my eyes while my head's pounding. I wiped my eyes only to have a warm liquid smearing it. I took a look around and spotted Luchelle lying next to me, covered in her own blood, with a razor-sharp knife in my hand. What the hell did I do?